The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone. Is it unethical to eat meat or use animal products? When I was 4 years old, I went vegetarian. I remember the day it happened. Actually, I was having dinner at my parents' friend's place and I realized that the turkey meat actually came from an animal. And right then and there, I decided I wasn't going to eat animals anymore. And I was vegetarian for about 10 years. And it was because I cared a lot about animals and I didn't want to eat them. Eventually, I started eating meat again, but my whole life I've sort of leaned towards being not a big meat eater and eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. But I'm not a vegan or even a vegetarian, and I'm no longer categorically against the use and consumption of animal meats and animal products. However, that's not to say that there isn't an ethical problem with meat and animal products as an industry. Factory farming, industrial farming, that is the biggest problem. That is what is really, really cruel and really sad. Is the only viable alternative going vegan? I don't think so. Even if more people go vegan, that still wouldn't change the problem of industrial farming practices because nothing had changed about the laws. Blaming individuals for that cruelty is like it's like when corporations go out into some pristine area, destroy nature to set up a dam to produce electricity, and then you point the finger at the person living in the city and saying, you're destroying the environment because you didn't turn your lights off. Okay, veganism is obviously trendy these days. I would point out, though, that trends come and go, and I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people who have recently declared themselves to be vegan are probably not going to be vegan 5 years down the road. Some of you aren't going to like to hear this, but I accept that death is a part of life for humans as well as for animals. And what are we going to do with the cows? I mean, rewild them and let them die naturally in the field? To me, it makes sense to practice animal husbandry, and then before they die naturally, you slaughter them and you make use of the whole animal. This is not a business that I would be in, because I couldn't do it, okay? But if somebody can do that business, take good care of the animals, and then at the end they become food for humans after they've lived a good life, I don't have a problem with that. Is using other animal products besides meat unethical? I don't think so. See, when I was growing up, we lived partly in Vermont in a community that had a lot of dairy farms and a lot of people were raising chickens and things like that. Those people treated their animals so well. I remember our farmer, who had actually quite a big farm, he knew every cow by name. He would pet them. Those cows were loved. They were treated like pets. They were milked, and they were loved, and they were pastured. They were free range, out in the field all day. I think they were treated very well, and I don't have a problem with using their milk. And milk production works where, like, the more you take, the more the cow produces. So, I mean, if a cow can feed twins, she can feed her calf, and you can also milk her. I mean, it's not like either or. I remember this farmer that lived down the road from us, he loved his chickens so much, and he used to say, every year, he'd always say, that's the best little batch of hens I ever did have. And they were always the best batch of hens, and he would go in there, and he'd pet them, and he'd talk to them, and he'd take their eggs. And we'd eat them. I'm okay with that. So I don't think that using animal products is in and of itself unethical. I think it's the factory farming, industrial farming practices that are, and they're horrible. And what we need to do is push for better alternatives. We say no to junk food and they shut down McDonald's. You can hardly find a fast food place around here anymore. You say no to GMOs and suddenly you find all kinds of organic stuff in the grocery store a few years later. Say no to factory farming, and maybe laws can be put in place so that animals can be treated humanely. Doesn't mean we all have to go vegan. But I think the most important thing, though, is that we don't pass judgment on other people. Just because you're not a vegan, it doesn't mean you're a bad person, that you're unethical and you don't care about animals. Just because you're not a vegan doesn't mean you're not healthy. And just because you are vegan doesn't mean you're particularly healthy either. I mean, you can basically have a vegan junk food diet, so it's not like it's automatically healthy. So I don't have any kind of problem with veganism. I just have a problem with extreme thinking of any kind. Whenever you find that the thinking is at an absolute, whatever side it's on, I just don't think that that's healthy. I think that a lot of problems that we have in society in general come from this kind of polarized thinking. And I think it's easy to fall into trends that involve polarized thinking because people tend to jump on the bandwagon. But like I said, check in 5 years down the road, and I bet, like with any trend or any cause, a lot of people aren't still going to be on it down the road. I would encourage people to eat healthy, preferably raw, unprocessed foods, but I'm not going to pass judgment on anyone for whatever kind of diet they have. And I would hope you would have the same attitude towards meat. So let me know what you think. Thanks for giving me a thumbs up. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.